Welcome to Did You Know, the series that brings you tips and tools to help you be a more effective ServiceNow admin and developer. Now, before we begin, just a reminder to hit the like and subscribe and share this video. Thanks. What we cover here are in-platform and third-party tools that can make your life easier and faster when working on the Now platform. With me today is Arnoud Kooi, the author of Utils. It's probably the most popular Chrome and Firefox extension for ServiceNow developers, and it does all kinds of useful stuff that we're about to see in a minute. Now, if you want to hear a little bit more about the history of Utils, have a listen to Breakpoint episode number 44 from January 12, 2022. I'll have a link in the description for this video. But one thing you won't get on that podcast is a live demo, which is why we're here today. Welcome to the show, Arnoud.
Thank you, Chuck. Great introduction. And it's been a while since 12th of January, so great to catch up again.
That it is. Now, I'm going to jump right into it. Let's start with where people can find Utils. No, you know what? Let's back up even more. Give them a brief overview of what Utils is.
Yeah, it is a browser extension, as you mentioned, primarily. And it has a ton of features and functionalities to make primarily the developer and the admin life easier. So from searching a table, executing functions that normally would maybe take 5 steps, maybe reducing that to 1 or 2 steps. So it's really about helping increase productivity for admins and developers. But I'm really anxious to, or I'm really fired up to getting people to show it. So I hope we can really show the things and not only talk about.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this too. So how about we start out? Where can they find Utils?
It is in all major browser extension stores. What do you think? Shall I explain, or should I just start showing it?
This is a demo crowd. Let's show them.
Okay, perfect. So here I'm sharing my screen, and obviously I have it installed for myself, but it is available on every major platform. So if I search for Utils, then I can either go to the Chrome Web Store, or the second link is my personal homepage, and there I have aggregated all links to all platforms. So over here you see that you can download it for multiple versions, for Chrome, for Firefox. One good thing to note is the on-prem version. That is the most asked questions. If people have an instance that is not running on service-now.com, so either it's on-premise or they have their custom URL attached to it, then you should go for the on-prem version. But normally the normal for Chrome version is recommended. And here you see the add to Brave button. So the Chrome version will work on every Chromium-based browser. So like Brave or Opera or whatever you have. So I can add
Even
it
on
here.
my Raspberry Pi. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that could be done. They have a version. I'm not sure how it would perform, but always good to give it a try, right? So now it is already installed, but it obviously only works in a ServiceNow instance. So I could close this window right now, but here I have a window open, and when I just go to the home page, it is good to have a refresh. So I have now installed it, and when I go to my instance, I don't immediately see it. What I recommend is going to this little icon, and that is the same across the Chromium browsers. And from here, pin it. So if you pin it, then you have it right at hand. And I have already reloaded the page. So now I should be able to leverage the functionality, and I can go, for example, to the list of tables that loads one time a day all the tables in the instance. And from there I can search. But that is basically the way to install Utils.
All right, we've got it installed. What are some of the things that somebody would do first with Utils?
Yeah, the first thing to do is really, I think, the place where I am right now. This is particularly useful when you are a new ServiceNow developer. Explore the tables within your instance. For example, let's say that I'm new to the ServiceNow HR space, and I would really like to know what tables are involved with HR. Then I could just start typing HR, and when I want to know task-related tables of HR, I type in HR task, and here I get all the tables that match that. And from here, I could directly navigate to that table. I can search if I say if I only want the updated table records for today. So click on that, and it will open that table. So the option I choose was a list only. So for now, it's just knowing what it is. So, and when I go to it again, here I see again HR task, and here I see, hey, it is the scope I see as well because I picked the advanced. Advanced
Mhm.
will show me the scope and what it extends as well. So when I change the text to SN underscore HR, then it gives me as a basis all the tables that are in that scope. And from there, it is really interesting if you're in a new space to explore all the data, open a table, see maybe the structure of the table and the entity relation diagram. It is all available from here. So, and this is just an example, but you can do it with everything in the platform. I know, for example, all the new next experience tables, they have UX underscore in it. So if I want to know a bit what's going on behind the scenes as a curious developer, this is really a great place to start and explore your journey with SN Utils and let it help you to explore the platform. So that is something, and from there you can really take it wherever you want. So obviously a big thing in SN Utils is the navigating around. So when I say des SI, I can easily access my script includes and so on. So it's really getting started with it. I think a good place to start is the table list. So, and a few others, I've shown them quite some times, but Slashcommands is obviously an important part of SN Utils. So when I do the /u thread, do a right arrow, it searches everyone with the name of thread. And when I hit one, I can fully keyboard navigate across my instances over here. So there are. This is really navigating, but there are also ways to execute a command. For example, when I would do /lang nl, it can change my preferred language to Dutch, and because I am Dutch. Let's immediately switch it again
You can
to.
read that a lot better than I can. I can read email.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'll switch back to English, but there are /commands. There are ways to search. There are ways to execute commands, like for example, the pretty well-known /tn that will show all the technical names. And since a while, that's also available via a double click. So if I want to disable it again, I can just do a double click. So that are ways to execute functions with /commands. And the third one is so navigating, searching, and execute functions. I can also do, for example, when I do com and I search for bow tie. It will do a search on the community for bow tie, and I don't have an idea what will come up, but some Tech Now episodes. So, and those are commands, and all of this you can. There are about 70. If I do a /, it shows me that it has around 100 in this instance. It comes with, I don't know exactly how much, but around 80 out-of-box ones, but you can also create your own.
That's pretty impressive that you've made this extensible.
Yeah. So would it be an idea to deep dive a bit on how you can create your own?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what I suggest is I'll create a custom /command that will open a scope inside the Studio application. So that will be a few steps before we get to that. But first, I know when I start typing /studio sys scope, the scopes are stored in the sys scope table. So I'm just going to open that. And I want to create a custom /command for that. It already gives me a pre-fill link here based on which I could make a custom /command. But I want to make it able that I can immediately add a filter. So when I says /studio and then a search filter to filter down my scopes. So here you see that I have the availability to add variables. And let's just do it because that's probably easier than trying to all explain it. $0, the name should contain $0, or the scope name should contain $0. So, or scope contains $0. Enter. So this doesn't get any result, but when we leverage this inside of the /command window, we get an updated pre-fill link that contains our current encoded query. So when we click that, you see it already suggests a hint, and it adds some field names over here. The field names shown here are the first two columns in your list. That will make a bit more sense later. We need to define our own name. So let's name this one Studio. Now when I click Save, it does a preview of the /command. So it now has executed it without any parameter. So now it will show all the scopes. I can add a switch. There are a few ones, but when I do /cm, it adds created by me to the query. And when I do a right arrow, I will see the /command created by me. I see something with request. So again, when I do a right arrow, I see I limit it down to 2. So now when I would open this one, this is the default behavior. I go to the record that of this syscope entry, but that's not what we are trying to achieve. We want to open it inside of Studio. So again, I'm opening the tab and I'm editing my command again. In order to achieve that, we need to override the target URL. So instead of going to the record, we need to override it. And for that, we can go to Studio. And the URL over here, I'm going to copy it. And I think let's copy the entire URL. You need to be a bit precise. This is a bit error-prone, this process. So let's hope it will work out all. But again, opening it and fill in the override URL. And now you see over here that we have the sys ID of that current record. So let's be a bit precise and remove it. I think this should be it. And now we should replace this with $sys ID. Right. So when we then click our result, it will replace the sys ID with the sys ID of the returned field. So again, let's save it. And by the way, The fields that you show here, now you see it in action, name and scope that you define here. Now you see in the preview of the inline results, name and scope in this list. So now let's just click on one, and maybe I can add that request filter. I'm not adding created by me as a parameter, so I get a bunch more right now. But when I click on the visa request,
Look
now
at
you see
that.
that I can directly open the visa request app in Studio. So from now on, I have this new slash command available for me. So maybe you can think of your own use cases. I have done this for myself to navigate to a particular process automation in Process Automation Designer, but it is really a way to speed up your navigation. One thing to keep in mind is that in order to leverage this, instead of hitting enter, you need to leverage the right arrow to navigate to it. So that is one thing to keep in mind.
Good point.
One last thing, or another thing that I would really like to point out, and I'm gonna switch quickly to this browser window in Firefox. Also leveraging SPW, that's also a built-in Slashcommands that leverage that URL override. So when I click on my simple list, and I could also fully keyboard navigate with it. So this is one to look out in the out-of-box ones if you want some an example of how you can build such a special slash command. But besides slash commands, there is also still the Visual Studio Code part that is part of SN Utils. And here you see that the SN Utils adds this little button. And I have VS Code running. You can see over here that it's already running. And then when I click on this button, it will open up another tab. That tab that is a proxy between the ServiceNow instance and the Visual Code environment. And what you have just seen, that all the fields or all the artifacts that are here, there are separate files for each artifact over here. And another thing that is being added is a file called test URLs. And that is a guess that it does what could be a URL of the actual widget. So when I click on this, command click, it will open that widget that I'm currently editing in your instance. So if this is not the right URL, if you are using it in another page, you can add your URL over here. And the reason to add that URL over here, that makes sense if I do this. This is my server. Here I'm opening my server script, or I believe it's in the client script. In this client script, there is a limit called 10 or 15. But if I add it to 10 and I hit save, then you see that immediately there has been done a refresh to the ServiceNow instance. So this will work with the HTML, the client script, the server script. Every time you hit save and there is a match in the pattern of the URLs defined in test URLs, you don't have to do a manual refresh. In particular, when you have a dual monitor set up, you can just hit save and you immediately see the result when you have hit save. And for the CSS, it's even cooler, I think. When I in the CSS file and I change something in VS Code, you see that it immediately updates in the window. So the font size, when I set it to to 4, then at the fly it is all being updated. So I think this is a cool way to develop and something similar. You can also do something similar when you add, for example, a UI page or a client script inside, and then you have an option over here that works slightly different. People can see that in my other videos. But when you enable this tab, every time you it receives a save command, it will try to do a refresh of the current tab you have open. So and now when I would hit save, I would expect you see that this is not related to each other. But when I do a save, it will send a refresh command to the current tab. So that's something also that I think that can help you move faster and more enjoyable when you do your widget or your any other type of scripting.
Mr. Time Saver.
Cool.
Arnoud, where can somebody find help for SN Utils?
I think I'm reachable in as many channels as possible. An official way to make a mention of problems is an issue. So you can.
Okay.
There are issues that are really bugs, but also feature requests. In the GitHub also has a section for discussions that people can check out and ask questions. So that's also fine. Another direct way is the SN Utils channel on the SN Dev Slack. So yeah, I'm available. I'll respond to any channel, but I think those two, to keep a bit of I think centralized, are the best ways to reach out or to get help.
All right. Any parting words of wisdom you want to leave with people?
So for parting wisdom, I think it's really beneficial if you check out my YouTube channel. Also subscribe to mine and like it and so on. For example, about Scriptsync, I have a lot of resources that cover how you can leverage Scriptsync. Yeah, it's really a subpart we tackled today. There is a lot more. So check out my resources, and a good one is my my Twitter channel. Every time I add something, I'm announcing it on GitHub. So keep an eye on that as well.
You bet. There is a lot to learn in here, and we've only scratched the surface. I've only scratched the surface with this, and every time I turn around, I learn something new. Learned a couple new ones just on today's video. So thank you very much, Arnoud. If you, dear viewer, have any suggestions for a topic for Did You Know? Leave a comment in the video or reach out to one of the advocates on LinkedIn or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Bye.